Hello friends. So a couple years ago, I actually posted this video and a couple of people have been watching it and I've decided to make a kind of update on it. I've realized that New York is insanely expensive and all of the content that I see online is an unrealistic portrayal of how really expensive it is. So I decided I would take a week that is pretty typical of what I spend and discuss how much I've been spending, why I spend it, and whether or not I think it's worth it to live in New York. I watched a ton of videos about money and how people are spending their money before I moved here, so I thought I would just give my little input on what I've been spending in 1 week in New York. If you're new here, I am Sue. I'm 25 years old. I've lived in New York for about 1.5 years, and I've lived in Brooklyn and now I live in Manhattan. So the prices are different depending on where you live, but this is just typically what I spend in a week. I'm here with Polar Pip and my laptop, and let's go through some of my expenses this week. So I live in a 1-bedroom plus flex, and I do have a roommate. She lives in the flex bedroom. I do live in the 1-bedroom, which is quite large. I pay at $19.50 per month, which I know for people who don't live in New York, that sounds insanely expensive, but I gotta tell you, I really like my building. It doesn't have anything fancy, but it does the job and the location is pretty good. For $19.50 a month, if I break that down into weekly, I am spending $487.50 per week. And that's just for living and existing in New York City. Then I have some other living expenses, which are utilities and subscriptions. For utilities, I'm talking about electric, heat, and internet. So just making sure that the things in my unit are going as planned, like lighting, Wi-Fi, etc. And then I have my subscriptions. I do have more subscriptions than I'd like. These apps include my Amazon Prime, my music app, and then everything I use on my computer that requires a subscription. So my subscription and my utilities is about $120 a month. I'd really like to get that down. And so $120 a month for 4 weeks, that's $30 a week. It's kind of a lot, but I do use everything, so I can't really complain about that. A subscription that I do have that I did not include there is my ClassPass. So my building does not have a gym, so I have to do my exercise elsewhere. I used to have a membership to a specific studio that I loved back when I was living in Brooklyn, but when I moved to Manhattan, I decided I didn't want to be stuck at one particular studio or gym, so I got a ClassPass membership, so I've been using that for a while. I have currently the 23 credits a month, and that is about $49 a month, and for a week, that's $12.25. I don't work out that much, and I did find that classes in New York City require so many credits, and yeah, it kind of sucks, but at least I don't have to pay a fee to go to a specific gym or anything like that. I can just hop around wherever, and then also if I'm traveling across the states, I can use those credits elsewhere. Probably the thing that costs the most money for me in terms of spending is eating out. So I love food, ordering in. That to me is the best thing I can do. I love hanging out with my friends and going to restaurants or ordering food with my boyfriend. For groceries in this particular week, I spent $20 at the Korean grocery store. And then on top of that, I spent $41 at Trader Joe's. So I spent $61 on groceries. I will say some of the stuff was essentials in my pantry, like soy sauce and sugar that I will be using continually, so not just for this week, but it is kind of a little more than I would have liked to have spent, particularly because in this 1 week, I actually use a meal delivery kit. So I'm a big fan of the subscriptions where you pay and they send you a set of ingredients and instructions on how to cook the meal. That way I only have a single serving. Because I'm cooking for myself, I often find that I will buy large amounts of product and produce for a specific meal and then not use it, and then it goes to waste. So I do like having these meal delivery kits. I will say it's not cheap. So I spend about $9 per serving. And so for this particular week, I did 4 meals, so that's $36. And so not that cheap. And so that's how much money I spent on food. This particular week, I didn't do that many activities that cost money. I did like go to my friend's house for a little party, and then I went to my friend's house to cook, and then we split the cost of the food there. So I didn't spend a lot of money on activities this past week. I will say on average, I do spend quite a bit on like doing activities, but this week I didn't. I did one day go out to see my boyfriend play his volleyball game. That is something that's free that I like to do. And I did have to take transit. So I took transit 4 times this particular week. The subway is $2.75 regardless of how many transfers you do. And then I also took the ferry, which is also $2.75. They did recently increase the price. So it's now actually $4 per one way for the ferry, which is so expensive. But if you do buy the 10 pack, they are $2.75 each. So then I generally buy the 10 pack because I like to take the ferry. This particular week, I spent $11 on public transportation. And then in my unit, I don't have a washing machine. That is one thing that I miss so much, having in-unit laundry, because you can like throw your stuff in there and then let it sit there if you're not ready to take it out yet. And no one else is ever like using it. But because I use the laundry machine in my building, it is actually $2.75 for each load. So $2.75 for the washing machine and then $2.75 for the dryer, which is so expensive. Like even in college, I never paid to do my laundry. So this is like a lot for me. I did do 1 load of washing. I generally do 2 loads a week. So like one with my like sheets and bedding and stuff like that, and then another one of just my clothes. But this week I just did 1 load of washing. I did actually get like a drying rack because I realized that the drying machine wasn't that good, and then to save like that $2.75, I like to air dry my clothes. So that's what I've been doing to save just like a little bit of money. So I spent $2.75 on laundry last week. And then over the weekend, I was hanging out with my boyfriend and we decided that we were gonna have like kind of a lazy weekend. So we did not cook. And sometimes we do cook, sometimes we don't. We do love Uber Eats. And so we actually ordered in twice. So I spent about $71 on Uber Eats. I know it's a lot, but it has to be done. The area that he lives just does not have that many good food options, and it's a little bit more expensive than the area that I live. So the food is always expensive and it's just not worth it to be like eating out. So we did split that because for the meals that I pay for, he pays for like the other meals. So it is even though it is for 2 people, I did pay for them. That's everything that I spent in a week. I will say I didn't do any shopping or buying gifts last week, which is kind of rare for me. I do love to shop and buy things. I didn't get anything last week for whatever reason. And so this is a little bit lower than I think I typically spend, but the total for last week was actually $711.50. It sounds like a lot, but that is everything, including my rent, utilities, food, etc. And so if you include all of that, I think that's pretty low for New York City. I don't know for sure. All the videos I watch are kind of romanticized, or this person is kind of living a very, very glamorous life. So it's like they spend way more. I think it's interesting to watch how people spend their money because people definitely spend it in different ways. I, for one, don't spend a lot of money on like glam and beauty. I do love eating out and shopping. So that's like a different way people spend money. I'm hoping that I continue to track the way that I spend money. I talk about this on my podcast, but the way that we spend money says a lot about who we are. And I know that there are ways to change the way you spend money because it can be really important to save, especially in your 20s. So if you're looking to move to New York, I would say that always imagine that you're going to be spending more. Things here that could be really cheap elsewhere are really expensive. And every time I compare my expenses to my friends who don't live in New York City, I always feel like I'm spending more. But I have to take into account that I'm choosing to live in New York City. That happens to be an amazing place to be. And there are so many things happening here that are just not happening elsewhere. So if you take that into account, I really feel like a lot of these things are worth it. Let me know what you think, and thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.